back to this side of the room for the Dice Tower's coverage of the GAMA Trade Show 2017. I'm here with Nathan from Pandasaurus Games, and we're talking dinosaurs.
We are. We're looking at Dinosaur Island.
Oh boy.
This is a new game from Brian Lewis and John Gilmore that'll be coming out around Gen Con, around August release. It's up on Kickstarter right now.
Okay.
Really, really excited about this one. So I'll kind of walk you through what you're doing in the game. But this is sort of a fudged setup.
This is very colorful.
Very, very colorful. So the idea behind the art direction is it's the early 90s. Okay. And this is a game that came out back then.
Oh, okay.
So we really went
I see a lot of lasers and stuff.
Lots of lasers. Looks a little bit like a Trapper Keeper.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Okay. Yes, I'm with you. I'm in the zone.
Oddly enough, it's actually not that 90s because I thought it was really insane, and then our graphic designer showed us actual 90s artwork. I'm like, you've tamped this down. I don't know what we were all thinking.
Yeah.
So what you're going to be doing in the game is trying to build the best dinosaur theme park. So right here, I've got kind of my park set up in the early game with a couple of different sort of dinosaurs. And the game is played through 4 phases. The first phase is the research phase. Everyone has 3 researchers labeled 1, 2, 3, and you can tell this is a prototype.
This is a prototype
because I literally wrote that with a Sharpie. But in this phase, you're going to be doing one of 3 things. You'll be acquiring various sorts of DNA from dice.
Okay.
So there's 6 kinds of DNA, 3 basic and 3 advanced DNA. So if you put a researcher, say here, it's going to multiply. This is my level 2 researcher, be 2 times the purple DNA.
Okay.
And I would increase my purple DNA store by 2. The second thing you can do is acquire a dinosaur recipe. We have herbivores, small carnivores, and large carnivores. Large carnivores are the most complicated to make. They're also worth the most victory points at the end of the game, and they're the most exciting dinosaurs, so they bring more people to your park. So for a large carnivore, I have to use my level 3 researcher. For a small carnivore, I could use my 2 or my 3.
Okay.
And for a herbivore, I could use my 1, 2, or 3.
All right.
Next thing I can do is I can increase my DNA storage. If you look over here, and the final version of this is going to have punched outs on this board, so these cubes will not slide everywhere. But I can increase my DNA storage. So if I place my 3 here, I could pick 3 of these DNA storage units and increase the limiter markers. So the black is the maximum that I can hold of each.
Okay.
So if I acquire more of a color DNA than I can hold, it caps out. So I can increase my storage, and you'll need to do that. The last thing I can do is I can use one of my researchers. I can pass and add him to my worker pool for phase 3 for that turn. So this is how you kind of get the basic building blocks to make a dinosaur park. In phase 2, and I don't have everything out here, is when you're going to acquire things for your park. There's 3 things you can acquire. These are all specialists. You can have up to 3 specialists a game. They all give you some sort of passive ability. Like you have a security guard here. The security guard allows you to return up to 3 hooligans to the bag and redraw each round. We'll get into what hooligans are very briefly, but they're people who break into your park, don't pay you to come in. So you need to get some security to mitigate that.
Basically.
They're punks. So you can pay the price for one of these. You can see it's 5, 4, 3, 2. At the end of the round, whatever's been purchased, the $2 rows wiped clean, everything slides forward. We don't have them out here right now because they're in the box, but I'll grab a couple of samples. You can also buy some lab upgrades, which are going to be tiles like this that would also sit out here in another row.
Okay.
And they would come over to your lab board and actually become extra spaces for you to place workers during phase 3. So you can buy lab upgrades.
Okay.
There are also attractions, which I will get an attraction out real quick. I'm hoping I grab one with a really bad pun on it.
I hate puns.
I'm sorry, you're gonna not be very happy. We have one called Jurassic Pork.
Yep, Jurassic Pork.
Jurassic Pork. Here's Dino Fryland instead of Dino Island.
Yeah.
So you can purchase attractions that also go in your park, and they have a couple of things that'll cost some money. They're going to give you some excitement, which attracts people to your park, and they'll give you some victory points, and they may have spaces for patrons to come into your park. So you're going to do 2 rounds of purchasing. Nice thing here, you can also pay a cost. So for example, here I could pay $2, discard something available in the $2 row, and take 2 basic DNA. So if you don't get what you need from the dice rolls, there are other ways to get the DNA you need.
Okay.
You can also just pass and gain $2. Everyone's going to take 1 purchase, a second purchase, and then that's the end of this phase.
2.
So pretty simple. Phase 3 is kind of the meat of the game. This is where you're going to make your dinosaur. So if you've acquired a dinosaur recipe for a Triceratops, and he's going to require a red and a yellow DNA. So I'm going to pretend that I got some red and yellow DNA.
Okay.
Or actually, let's back up. Let's say I have red and I don't have a yellow DNA.
Yeah.
I can place a worker on DNA refinement. And I can make an advanced DNA by combining a pink and a purple DNA and create a yellow DNA, which I need for my red and yellow.
Sure.
That is limited to once a round. There's an upgrade you can purchase that lets you do it more, but you can refine DNA to get advanced DNA.
And each player has one of these boards?
Yeah, this is a one player. Each player is going to have, so these are common boards. Each player will have their own lab board and their own park board.
Okay.
I can then place a worker on combined DNA to make dinosaurs, and I'll spend a red and a yellow DNA. I'd place this guy in my park, and these are going to be actual dino meeples, not wood cubes in the final version. And now I've got a dinosaur in my park.
Nice.
That's going to do a couple of things to me. I'm going to kind of fudge these numbers. But he has a threat level of 1. He's an herbivore. They don't really do too much, but my threat will go up. So large carnivores, small carnivores have higher threat levels than herbivores.
Threat level sounds ominous.
It's pretty ominous. So to start the game, you have 4 actions here. There are ways to acquire additional workers for this phase, including when you pass, you get an extra worker here. So I could come here, I could pay $2, and I could upgrade my security if I care about my guest safety. And that's an unlimited spot, so I can place as many workers there as I want. I can take money at venture capital if I need it. You'll notice these don't do anything yet because you need to buy upgrades.
We may have added things over.
Yeah, you can build on top of these as well, but once you've built over it, you lose the ability to go there as a space.
All right, and then what are we doing in the park?
So in the park, you're going to look at your excitement level.
We want excitement.
You want excitement because in excitement, you're going to bring that many guests to your park. So let's say I have excitement right now of 6. I'm making that up, but for purposes. Green cube, and these are going to be little mini meeples in the final version.
Okay.
White cubes are currently paying customers. Green cubes are hooligans.
Hooligans.
You get $1 for each paying customer that comes in the park. This would be a good opportunity to have purchased the security guard, which would let you return hooligans to the bag. There's a couple of other ways to mitigate that. You're not going to get any points. Guests are then going to come into your park. Each dinosaur you have attracts 1 guest into your park. So I've got spaces for those guys. The hat stall that comes pre-built has a space for 1 guest, as does Dinosaur Island, which I fake purchased earlier.
Yes.
So everybody got to come into the park in this case because I had spots for everybody. That's nice. Problem is, if you'll notice here, my security level is 3, my threat level is 6.
What could go wrong?
Well, in this case, because there's a gap of 3, up to 3 of my dinosaurs break out, and they eat people. They each eat 1 guest.
That seems unfortunate.
It's not good for them. Or you. You got their money, but you're going to lose victory points. To be fair, you would still go to a dinosaur theme park, Death Trap, because there's dinosaurs there and you're just going to risk it.
Sure.
So in this case, I would lose 3 victory points for these guys getting eaten. I would gain 2 victory points for the 2 paying customers that lived, which would net me a 1 victory point loss.
Yes.
Cool thing about the game is victory points do ultimately end it, but what you're going to do is you're going to deal out a number of end game cards to start the game that have different win conditions, like have 5 different kinds of dinosaurs, have 8 dinosaurs in your park. And you're going to set the number that come out based on how long you want to play. If you set it to the number of players plus 1, the game will end in 60 minutes roughly.
Okay.
2 players, up to 4 players. There's also solo variant. You can add additional cards to get the game up to 2.5 hours if you wanted to do a little bit more engine building. So you can scale the length of the game. We're really excited about that. Once all but one of those in-game conditions has been resolved, that's the last round of the game. They're worth 10 victory points each, so it's kind of a race to meet those conditions. I would suggest getting security, because if you go negative in victory points early, you're not going to win.
Can you train the dinosaurs to eat the hooligans first?
You may not. The hooligans are shifty. They both break in your park and are really good at it.
And they hide well.
They hide very well.
Man.
I mean, they got in the park. They could probably escape dinosaurs better than
So you
paying
said
chumps.
August for Dinosaur Island.
August for Dinosaur Island, and it's on Kickstarter right now.
Excellent. Let's move on to something else, because I know you've got a whole pile back here. Which would you like to talk about next?
Let's talk about King's Life.
King's Life.
We could talk about this one briefly. This is actually a game that I believe Tom knows and loves very well, that was released under the name Smiley Face originally.
Oh, okay.
So this was, it's a Bruno Feduti game. Gwendolyn, I'm going to say Gwendolyn's last name horribly wrong, so I'm not going to attempt it. this is the original theme, which is a bored king that wants to do something fun in his free time.
Okay.
That's not being the king, because being the king is boring. So players are going to use cards in the game to suggest to the king what to do. The suggestions that you can make are feasting, jousting, dancing, and as we have artwork on these we're really happy with. So as these improve, so if you're suggesting to the king that he should hold a tourney, and it's worth a 1 value.
Turn this around.
Yeah, it's 2 peasants pushing a wooden horse. Not very exciting.
No.
If you're suggesting, say, maybe a level 3 tourney, we've got a couple of knights fighting. That's getting a little bit better.
Sparks coming off, though.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Level 4, we got a guy getting hit, while jousting. And the level 5, we have the king riding a dragon with 2 flaming things. Which is to say, you might be misleading the king as to how great a tourney might be. He might not be riding a dragon with 2 flaming things. But you're going to go around, you're going to try to build a program of your event to suggest to the king, and if you have the best suggestion of the day, you'll win the day and you'll get victory points for winning that day. What's neat about the game is if you're not winning the day, you can make the decision to pass and support another player, which means you get to give them one of the cards that you've previously played, which might assist them in winning the day. But there's a lot of very mean cards in the game as well that might let you assist somebody and then steal their win, and they might not know that's coming. So I think it compares a lot with Cosmic Encounter, but a little bit simplified, a lot shorter. Very quick alliances get made and broken. This will be out in August. 4 to 8 players, 30 minutes. Really, really fun game.
Excellent. Let's just move this over here.
Yeah. Last one up, and we'll just talk very briefly about this guy, is Minerva. This is a new game by Hisashi Hayashi, designer of Trains in Yokohama.
Yeah.
All new artwork for this version of the game by Franz Vohinkel. Really, really happy with it. It's a really simple tile laying game, engine building. What you're going to be doing in the game is purchasing and laying tiles down. So the price of purchasing a tile is in the top left corner. So in this case, it would cost a wheat, and it will net you some money when it activates. This guy is going to cost you some wheat and wood, and it will net you glory. And there's various ways to get stone, wood, iron. The main thing in the game is after you have started laying these out, and the direction in which you lay these tiles is going to be really critical, you're going to place a residence. If I can find one, that would be helpful. You're going to place a residence tile down on your turn at some point, and you're limited on these. I'm not going to find one probably, so I'll just use this guy instead. You have 9 residence tiles for the entirety of the game. When you place a residence tile, you're going to pick a direction and activate the tiles in order and do those abilities.
Yep.
So you will start noticing if you say, I'm going to pretend that's another residence. If you've placed 2 residents, you've now blocked in a row.
Yeah.
There are ways to get some assistance to reactivate each residence one time, but it's a very thinky, very Euro game. If you like trains, if you like Yokohama, which are his 2 kind of meteor designs, this is a little bit lighter than Yokohama, but still, it's definitely a brain burner. Really, really fun game. And this one we're looking at in the fall.
Okay.
And I think
you have a couple pieces you wanted to show off for one more game.
One more game, and then I'll go over to the Q&A booth. So the last thing I'm going to show is Wasteland Express, which is going to be out in May. Got the box right here. This is a laser cut copy. It's almost final production quality.
Okay.
The one thing we're missing, Noah at Game Trays, if anybody's familiar with Game Trays, has designed an entire setup for this game. So right now, when you open the box, it is a nightmare of bags. When you open the retail box, you're going to open it up, and everything will be in a tray with a lid. You're going to pop a lid off and sit it down. So there's a marketplace where you upgrade your trucks with lots of little chits. There is a market board. You take the lid off. It has punch board that's popped in that labels where everything is and what it costs. You pass it around the board. Coins and resource cubes. There's 2 identical trades. Pop the lid off, sit it at both sides of the table. Both sides have a bank. It's going to be really cool. This game takes a half hour to set up without the trays. It's going to be down to 5 minutes with the trays.
Excellent.
60 to 90 minute game. Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback, John Gilmer designed this one. Really happy, sort of a post-apocalyptic pick up and deliver. And I do want to show off a couple of these guys. These are final production quality miniatures and the dice. really, really happy. These guys are the raider trucks. They kind of run around the board and fight you. The goods cubes are actually molded goods. So the water looks like barrels of water, food looks like crates of food. They actually nest in the back of the truck and move around. And these are a couple of examples of player trucks. Players have various start abilities. So this is Zero. She starts out with a lot of guns, as you can probably imagine from the fact that she's driving a tank. And then Big John here is a more normal trucker. He starts out with additional storage. So depending on who you are, you're going to kind of vary your rules. This guy's going to be out soon. I didn't want to take all the time to set it up because it's huge.
It's big, it's giant.
It's a massive game, but want to show these off. It's coming out in May. It's going to be a game I think everyone's going to be really, really excited about.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nathan from Pandasaurus Games. I think the internet has a lot of questions for you.
Good.
So we're going to move you over there. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on this side soon.
Great. Thanks.